Hello, my name is Kirsten Johnson from Mount Vernon High School, class of 2017. For many years, Mount Vernon High School was known as a highly advanced academic institution. In addition to having great sports teams, Mount Vernon High School was known throughout Westchester County as a school of high academic achievement. So many Mount Vernon High School graduates have gone on to greatness that a Mount Vernon Hall of Fame was created to honor their achievements. The individuals in our Hall of Fame have ascended to the highest levels in business, entertainment, and sports, and they represent the epitome of what Mount Vernon High School students are capable of. With such a proud history of achievement, the question becomes, can we honor our proud history of achievement by becoming high achievers ourselves? And can we raise our standards so that people once again think of Mount Vernon High School as a place where great scholars, athletes, and entertainers dwell? To help us strive towards such a goal, we must be guided by successful Mount Vernon High School students, both past and present. Did you attend Mount Vernon High School as a student? How different was the school then?
Well, I did not attend Mount Vernon High School. I attended a neighboring high school in another community. However, my three children went to Mount Vernon High School. They went all through the Mount Vernon public school system, kindergarten through 12th grade. My husband went through the Mount Vernon system, K through 12. And my mother-in-law graduated from A.B. Davis High School in 1926. So there is a long history of the Gordon family in Mount Vernon. To the second part of your question, how is it different?
Hello, my name is Kirsten Johnson from Mount Vernon High School, class of 2017. For many years, Mount Vernon High School was known as a highly advanced academic institution. In addition to having great sports teams, Mount Vernon High School was known throughout Westchester County as a school of high academic achievement. So many Mount Vernon High School graduates have gone on to greatness that a Mount Vernon Hall of Fame was created to honor their achievements. The individuals in our Hall of Fame have ascended to the highest levels in business, entertainment, and sports, and they represent the epitome of what Mount Vernon High School students are capable of. With such a proud history of achievement, the question becomes, can we honor our proud history of achievement by becoming high achievers ourselves? And can we raise our standards so that people once again think of Mount Vernon High School as a place where great scholars, athletes, and entertainers dwell? To help us strive towards such a goal, we must be guided by successful Mount Vernon High School students, both past and present. Did you attend Mount Vernon High School as a student? How different was the school then?
Well, I did not attend Mount Vernon High School. I attended a neighboring high school in another community. However, my three children went to Mount Vernon High School. They went all through the Mount Vernon public school system, kindergarten through 12th grade. My husband went through the Mount Vernon system, K through 12. And my mother-in-law graduated from A.B. Davis High School in 1926. So there is a long history of the Gordon family in Mount Vernon. To the second part of your question, how is it different? It's different in that we have lost the community, I think, that we had. And I look forward to regaining that. And we're taking baby steps toward that, which is very important. When my children came here, we were a family, and we need to go back to becoming a family and supporting one another.
Yes, I did. I graduated from Mount Vernon High School in 1981. The student body was a little different. As I grew up, it was a little bit more diversity amongst the students, but also the cohesiveness. Students kind of gathered together and banded together a little bit more than I see in this society, in this generation.
Yes, I was a graduate of Mount Vernon High School. I graduated in 1980. Times are different in Mount Vernon and Mount Vernon High School. Growing up and being a part of the Mount Vernon culture and to see what it is now, it makes me somewhat sad right now when I think about it, because Mount Vernon was a place that you always wanted to gravitate to. Now we have to work harder, and you've got a little bit of people that make it harder for the masses to understand what we're trying to do up here at Mount Vernon High School.
What strategies helped you to graduate from high school?
Number one, go to class. 90% of academics is going to class and listening to your teacher, participating with other students, and listening and talking to other students. When you miss class, you lose a tremendous perspective, a great deal of information, and part of going to high school is learning how to deal with other people, and you need to go to class.
Okay, just stay in focus. I was an athlete, I had other activities, but one of the things that I was able to do here in high school was to maintain my focus on academics. I studied each night, read over my notes, the regular stuff that I'm supposed to do, but I think that desire to be successful also helped motivate me.
Being a former athlete, I use basketball as my driving force. Without sports in my life, I would have stopped going to school. So my message to all youth would be to find something that you think is going to help you to succeed in life and to give you a better way out, and use that as your driving force.
What year did you start working at Mount Vernon High School?
I started teaching in 1973, but I didn't start teaching in Mount Vernon until 1994 when my eldest child was actually a sophomore. That's how I got my job here. There was a teacher in the building that was ill, and she said to me, "Mommy, there's somebody ill in social studies, why don't you apply?" And that's what I did. So I've been here since 1994.
I started working at Mount Vernon High School as a permanent teacher in 1997. I came on as a social studies teacher and worked with the athletic program, but in 1997 is when I started here.
I've been in Mount Vernon High School, I've been in the district for 28 years, but I've been working at Mount Vernon High School for 5 years.
How would you describe Mount Vernon High School students when you first started working?
I think, like the country, the students 20 years ago, 20 some odd years ago, were, again, more of a family. They were more closely related to one another. There was more respect for differences. There was more respect for different cultures. It was not so much an antagonism, but a celebration of one another and being able to accept one another. And I think that's part of society. High schools are just a microcosm of societies. You can't blame Mount Vernon High School. The problems we have here are the problems we have in Mount Vernon, we have in New York State, and we have in the country, and they have in the world. We are no different than any place else.
When I first started working at Mount Vernon, I think I think goes back to focus. I think the students were a little bit more focused in game planning. Most of the ones discussed college, and it gave me an insight to encourage them and give them the tools that they needed. And I think long term, students back then look towards the future more, when students nowadays look more to immediate gratification. But back then, I think they were more goal-orientated and focused.
I think the culture and the climate is getting better because the students, believe it or not, they want people to challenge them. They want to have structure. They want to have organization. And I think that we're getting to that point now where they can see something going on, but we need the help of the parents to really assimilate that and get that moving in the right direction.
Was there any difference between the students then and the students now?
I don't think there are differences between students. I think there are differences in the society as a whole. 20 years ago, we sat back and we smelled the roses, so to speak. Everything is instantaneous now, whether it's your cell phone, your computer, whatever. And we need to take a chance and appreciate one another more. I love the students at Mount Vernon High School. If I didn't, I wouldn't still be here.
Well, I think there's a big difference. Our society is different. So yes, the students are different now than they were back then. Because again, I don't know if students nowadays are looking long term. And we need to encourage them to do that. So the students back then were more engaged in academics than they are now. But I think a lot of it has to do with the change in society overall.
I think this generation of student, I call them the entitlement period, meaning that things are given to them more so than what we had. I mean, you look at video games. They sit there and they have video games so they don't get the real experience of having to be outside to socialize with friends. The real socializing comes through media, through texting. So there's no real peer-to-peer or person-to-person contact.
In your opinion, how can students in Mount Vernon High School improve academically?
Go back to base one. Go to class. If you go to class, you will do well. And go to class on time. By not going on time, not only does it show a disrespect for your teacher and your other classmates, it shows you don't have very much respect for yourself. And you need to be proud of your intelligence, not try to hide your intelligence, but go to class.
Well, again, we as teachers can always encourage them to look further ahead than just this semester or this marking period. I think the students nowadays need to understand that the education is changing. It's now more demanding. So if I can reach the students and encourage them to focus more on education, focus more on the strategies that's going to make them successful, I think they will be more successful in general.
I think it has to start at home, because if the school is professing to do something one way, then the student can go home and they don't get any reinforcement, then there's a disconnect. So it has to start at home first. And also, the students have to find a teacher or faculty member or someone that they can connect with and find a driving force that's going to help them to better themselves.
What strategies have helped you achieve high grades in Mount Vernon High School?
I've always been mature, and I think that's a big part of getting good grades. And I think building great relationships with teachers and students and knowing how to separate that also comes into work. And I think it's just many times it's up to you to decide how well you want to do in school. And through that, you know how hard you have to work and what you have to do to accomplish that.
I come from a strict Jamaican background, so the number one strategy for me was prayer. So I prayed and I had a timetable when, where, how was I gonna be able to go through school with good grades.
One thing that's helped me achieve high grades would be prioritizing, because I'm involved in a lot of extracurricular activities, and coupled with the fact that I have very difficult courses in school. So once I go home at 6 or 7 o'clock, you know, there's not much time left in my night for me to do what I have to do. So I have to prioritize and be like, okay, there's an essay due tomorrow, I have to do that one first. There's an essay due next week, let me just start doing the essay by chopping it up paragraph by paragraph for each and every day.
Making sure I prioritize and set my goals straight has definitely helped me achieve in Mount Vernon High School. I have always put my schoolwork before anything else, before my sports life and before my social life. So that's definitely important.
What advice would you give a Mount Vernon High School student who wants to do well in school?
For a student that wants to do well, I would advise him to work hard and be independent, and to be able to separate himself from his friends and his colleagues, because everyone has something to seek, and if he wants to do well, then he needs to work harder than everyone else. So I think it's just your mentality and your maturity when it comes to school and how important you consider it.
For an MVHS student who wants to do well, I would say number one, get your priorities straight. Know what is it that you want to do and why is it that you want to become successful in school.
I would tell them to work harder, because when I'm doing my homework, I realize that it gets very exasperating, especially when I am confused about a topic, and eventually I just want to be like, okay, I'll just do a half-effort job, you know, I won't really try that hard and I'll pass anyway. But, you know, I persevere, I call a friend, ask them to help me out, or I go to class in the morning and ask the teacher to help me. So, hard work.
In order to do well in school, you have to set your priorities straight. You must do what is important first before anything else, and making sure all the minor issues are dealt with later on, such as school drama.
Were you always a good student?
I can say that I have always been a fairly good student. I've had my times of struggles, and I haven't always been perfect in school, but that's what I strive for. And even though I may fail at times, I think it's just important to get back on it and to work hard once again.
It depends on what you classify as a good student. I was an average student who did well. So yes, I was an average but not the best student.
Yes, in the past, in middle school and in the prior grades of high school, I have been getting good grades. There was a time in middle school where my grades slightly decreased, but I got it together, and here I am.
For the most part, I have been. However, in middle school, I did fall off track. But once high school came around, I turned my life around as well, and I made sure I was doing great in school in order to go into the National Honor Society.
How can parents help their students improve academically?
I think parents play a really big role when it comes to a student's grade, and they should be involved with the student, and they should always encourage their kids to do well and to work hard in school. And I think it's important for them to reward their kids and to work hard in order to provide a greater education for their kids.
Students can be helped by their parents by gaining support and having a backbone and someone to be there for them in whatever they want to do.
Parents should set boundaries in terms of if your child wants to go to multiple parties over the weekend, but they know they have a lot of essays to do, you shouldn't let them go. And once you see that your child is working hard and that they are getting good grades in school, you should also allow them to, get more slack. They should be able to hang out with friends, have some fun, etc., as long as they do have their grades at a high GPA.
Parents must provide support for their child, definitely. Making sure they are encouraging their child to go beyond their boundaries in school, and just making sure everything that is important and needs to be done gets done in a good fashion.
What advice would you give to teachers and administrators about how to improve academic achievement?
I think when it comes to faculty in improving academic achievement, I think a lot of it relates to how they treat every student, and I think some teachers have a talent which others don't. And that talent, I think, is just being able to connect with the student, because every student is different and every student needs something different from the teacher. And you can clearly see in a class when a teacher makes great connections with the kids because they're interacting, and even the bad students learn how to work and they actually do their work. So I think it's just teachers need to really study their students and study their classes and work on their individual arts of teaching and just try to do their best each day in and out.
Well, as a student of the Mount Vernon High School, I must admit teachers and administrators have been doing very well so far in helping students to achieve good. So there's nothing I would say than continue doing the job that you have been doing.
I would tell them to make lessons more engaging. So in order to make it more engaging, they should relate the lessons to everyday life. Like, for example, in history class, when I'm learning about something that happened in the 1600s, 1700s, I sit there and I couldn't care less about what's going on because that doesn't relate to everyday life and that doesn't relate to me. So if the teacher would take something from the past and compare it to something that happens now, it would make more sense to me, because I would say, well, okay, so that's how the government works now and that's how it worked back then. So yes, make things more comparable to everyday life.
Teachers need to go beyond the four walls of the classroom. They must make sure their students are fully engaged, because there are some students that learn visually, there's some students that learn hands-on. So providing a lesson plan that involves different strategies in order to learn is more effective.
In conclusion, Mount Vernon High School has been a place where students have excelled. We have provided you with strategies for success. Ultimately, hard work, perseverance, and discipline are keys to success. Let's make Mount Vernon High School the place it was intended to be, a place of high academic achievers.